Welcome back to another episode of the Ben and Bergs podcast. I'm Ben, your favorite high school dropout and founder of Collective Shift. Alongside me is Bergs, your favorite MBA and CEO of Collective Shift. We're here to bring you world-class crypto research, strategies, and insights to help you crush this crypto bull market, plus get an exclusive behind-the-scenes look as we scale Australia's leading crypto research company. Today, we're talking all things personal finance and investing to grow your wealth. Bergs, I nailed that intro, mate. That's the first time I've actually nailed that.
Well done, mate. I'm impressed. It's taken, 210 episodes, but mate, we finally got there. This is a personal milestone. Don't worry about the investing, mate. This is the real wealth.
This is a real win.
Yeah, that's it. And look, for this one, we're going to put a big, not financial advice, investment advice, tax advice, everything warning on this. We are going to be speaking about those things, general in nature only. And I'm excited for this one, Ben, because you're actually inspired to do this episode. It's something I love talking about. And now you've got the bug, mate.
Yeah, so bit of context. We've been doing a lot of planning, 3-year planning for our business and also around personal finances, personal wealth ambitions, where we want to get to, how much money we want to have, where it's going to be invested, all these sorts of things, which has been super insightful because we can kind of get a view and a vision of where we want to be. And I highly recommend everyone do that. But then what we've done is reverse engineered a way to get there. And something that I've always struggled in or struggled / never put much time and attention in is actually the mechanisms in which you need to have to grow your personal wealth to achieve those things. Because my focus and all my attention has always been my business, grow the business, grow profitability, grow my crypto portfolio, but never what after that and never like how I actually do anything with that. And what's been so insightful, Bergs is on the other side of this in terms of like you've been through a lot of this, you're awesome at personal finance. So what we've really done is set up, different structures and mechanisms. When I say we, I've done this off sort of, chatting and going deep with Bergs on this, a number of different things to help create a roadmap and a personal forecast and a personal P&L. And when I started thinking about my personal life as a business, I'm like, this makes so much fucking sense. P&L, balance sheets, how we all do this. And then now it's really exciting to see like how soon I'm going to be able to achieve my personal financial goals versus what it was in the past, which was just sort of money comes, money goes and business. And now I feel as though I've got a bit more structure around what the hell is actually going on with, my personal finances.
Yeah, because when we were doing this exec retreat, we looked at our personal visions and then how we can, for our lives, how we can live that through the business, but then also how we're kind of personally structured. And I remember you saying like, you've got these goals and you're kind of not getting towards them. Your personal ones are things you want to achieve. And we asked you a question and it was, how are you complicit in creating the conditions you say you don't want? And first of all, you were like, you what, mate? And then we're like, all right, here, have you done these things? You're like, no. And I'm like, well, you need to, man. Like you got to take steps towards those goals, just like you would your fitness or anything else. And people need to realize that you don't succeed to the level of your goals. You fail to the level of your systems. If you don't have those systems in place, working for you and that automation every single day, you are playing on hard mode when you're trying to achieve your goals.
That really resonates because, my income and personal and business, has grown massively over the last, couple of years. But like outside of our, sort of business and, balance sheet growth, P&L and my crypto portfolio and the business crypto portfolio, that's all going great. But then personally, I'm like, well, hold on a minute. My salary and income has, really grown in the last 2 or 3 years, but I haven't really done too much with the money. Like I haven't really been able to achieve some of my personal goals through fiat. And I think the systems that we've created now just make so much sense. And it's kind of on autopilot. And yes, it's only been up for a few weeks now, but already structurally I kind of know where things are going and I'm managing it more like a business, where before I was probably not managing it at all. And it was just fucking whatever happens. But now I'm running it like a business and that makes me excited.
All right, let's talk about this because this is something I've just, I don't know, probably innately done since birth, right? Because I saw what my parents had and I'm like, I saw how they struggled and the things that we had to endure. And I'm like, no, I don't want that for my life. I need to learn about this and need to enact it. So I started doing that from when I was probably 13, like maybe even earlier, about saving money, having a business here, saving more cash, working at Coles, then, working professional jobs. Started investing when I was 19 or 20. And that's been compounding for over 20 years. Like, these are just structures and systems that I've set up that have worked for me. And I want to ask you about, let's go back to before 2 weeks ago, your kind of psychology around this. So you've got this business, it is doing really well. You get income from that. And let's call it out. You're a business owner, and for your age bracket, you're in the top like 5 or 10% or something of income earners because you are a business owner. So you're doing well. But how did you view the kind of psychology around that money coming in to your accounts and what you did with it?
Yeah, well, I think it's changed dramatically because of the amount of income and growth that I've got, both on like a asset level and income level from cash. And
Let's call that out. So a year ago or a year and a half ago, your salary was like $4. You were getting paid nothing.
yeah.
And now you're actually getting paid a decent salary because
Yeah.
we've worked everything out in the business. So you've had that big change as well.
Yeah, well, and too, like going back 3 or 4 years ago, like I basically sold a lot of my crypto to build Collective Shift. I had a huge tax debt. We weren't making any money. We're losing a bunch of money trying to grow this thing. Like I was basically, running off fumes, and if we failed, I was going to be bankrupt essentially. And 3 years on or 2 years on now, making really good money. The business is doing really well. We've got a long way to go, but that's been a huge shift personally. And you're not taught the basics of salary management at school, let alone running a business and having capital growth and investments and structures. And like, where do you learn any of that? I've just learned all that off myself essentially. But I think the most important here, back to your thing around processes and systems, I didn't have any of that because I never focused on it. And I still believe this, where I'm going to make most of my money and where I'm making most of my money is going to be in the growth of our business in crypto. It was not ever through putting money away and saving and sort of like building towards something. I'm like an all or nothing guy. So I'm like, well, if it's not like 6 figures, well, fuck it doesn't excite me. But that's so counterintuitive because it's delayed gratification, right? It's more about building towards something and having the processes and systems to do that. And now I've got that. I'm like, wow, this is fascinating because it's like compound growth, right? Versus not doing anything at all and basically money comes, money goes.
I like this because I talk about the all or nothing mindset quite a lot. And you find this a lot in investing, entrepreneurship. I have to sell my company for $20 million or it's nothing. Or I have to make $2 million investing so I can take that $2 million and I can buy 100% of a house. And we all hear the stories, Ben. Ben and I are behind the scenes. We know all these people that have tried to make it just a little bit more, just one more step. You even look in movies where it's like, I forget the bald guy. He's in like all the fighting movies. He's in like Transporter and everything like that. And his whole thing was he was doing jobs until he gets to 50 million and he's at 48 million. And of course he takes the one last job and it all goes to shit, almost dies, loses all his money. It's absolutely crazy, this all or nothing mentality. And the kind of visualization I have of this is being in the middle of the ocean in a rowboat and you refuse to row for the shore. You're just sitting there saying, I want that wave to come. And it's like, no, start rowing for the shore. And while you're rowing and you're making it towards the shore, you've got a bigger chance of survival. You're moving towards your goals. And if the wave comes, fucking great.
Yeah.
That's amazing. But you need that constant thing coming in.
And I think too, the other thing is lifestyle creep is definitely a real thing. And one thing that I love to do is travel and experiences. Like that's what I love. And I think it's hard to, it's not hard. You've just got to manage. Well, I'm managing that better in terms of, being able to still build towards personally the plan B, if it all goes to shit, business, crypto, which I don't think it will, but like, let's say something bad does happen, touch wood. then like you've got, like you said, you've got that other consistent areas that you're sort of diversifying against. Because the idea
Yeah.
of saving money is so fucking boring for me. I'm like, nah, let's pump it all in crypto. And I've always been 100% crypto, right? Like all my money's always been in crypto. Being very
Yeah.
cash poor, but also now I'm in a very grateful position where I do have excess income that I don't need, that I can start to build other channels of investments.
So last year, I remember you got a bonus, and it might have been no, it wasn't a bonus. It was like you saved up some money,
Yeah.
and I think it might have been something like 10K, and you had it in your account, and you're like, Bergs, where do I invest this? And I'm like, no, you just leave it there, like, and a week later, you came back like, oh my god, this is so amazing. I've got this money there, so I know if I'm in trouble, like I'll have this as a safety blanket, as an emergency fund. And you're like, oh, I just feel so secure because just having $0 or $100 in my bank account because I have to invest everything in Bitcoin
Yeah.
was really stressing me out and I didn't realize it. And from that point, you've made more money and you got yourself to a point where you didn't have an emergency fund. And you are actually, we call it hedonistic adaptation, where you go from, oh, I want this to I'm flying here, I'm going to have more holidays, now I'm going business class and I'm doing a lot more things. Maybe you could talk to this, like what happened between that kind of mindset and going back to, I don't know, where did this come from? Is this trying to keep up with other people? I've heard it described as, well, I work so hard, this is what I'm owed, this is my money, I'm going to spend it kind of thing.
Okay, so my one of my core values is adventure and that basically is travel. Like I love traveling, and I definitely have the mindset of I work so fucking hard day in day out. I give up on so much stuff that I don't get to do. So I'm going to reward myself by, like, when I go on travel and holidays, I'm going to do it nice. And that's always been sort of in my head. I've always wanted to get to that point, but also, if I think about other areas, like whether it be, giving money to family or like lending mates money, like I do that quite a bit. And I think I leave myself last in a sense of I'm trying to look after, those closest around me. And because that's also the goal of mine too. The reason I'm doing this business is to buy my mum and dad a house and kind of set myself up and all that sort of stuff. And now having a girlfriend as well, like also starting to think, well, fuck, I'm like, shit, like down the line, I need to get my shit sorted, because I can't just always be 100% crypto, 100% risk on, all or nothing. It's all going to be amazing, or it's all going to go to zero. That's all right when you're single, and you start again. But like now it's like, okay, I need to make sure that I'm protecting my downside a little bit more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I like the forward thinking. And have you just announced to the world, mate, that you've got a girlfriend? Is this the first time?
I think that's the first on the Ben and Bergs podcast.
Well done, mate. Well done. Publicly announced, Ben Simpson has a girlfriend. Woo! That's like
in the group.
Do you remember 2021? Yeah. Where you did that talk? You're like, by the way, this is my partner. And everyone's like, what the hell? I like, thank my partner. So good. So good.
Oh, dear. And the market's down. So, she's here for the right reasons, thank goodness.
Yeah. You're just pre-rich, mate. Don't worry. Just one more cycle. So this is a key thing that people need to understand. Think about your future. There's this amazing YouTube channel I watch. It's Caleb Hammer Financial Audit. And he's basically this like autistic guy that goes through people's finances in the States, generally in Austin. And mate, people's spending are out of control. Like they're like, oh, I'm just by myself, so I won't buy groceries. I won't cook. I'm just going to buy Uber Eats every single day. I'm going to go on this holiday. I go to Disneyland. I bought a $70,000 truck at 19% interest, even though I only earn 50 grand a year. And they're just in this financial hole. And they think they're okay because they're making the minimum monthly repayments on their credit cards and the minimum monthly repayments on their debt. That's not the goal. The goal is to save up some money, spend less than you earn, pay yourself first. So take 10% of whatever you earn or whatever that number is for you and put it into a mutual fund, into Bitcoin, into savings, whatever you want to do. Have an emergency fund, which is 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. Because if something happens, you break your leg and you can't work, whatever it is, you're relatively safe. And just delay that gratification around, hey, I won't go on that holiday now. I'll do that thing now. I'm going to get my shit right for 6 months. I'm going to work really hard. And then my life will be so much easier, because if you don't do that, you get caught in a poverty cycle.
Hmm.
And I don't blame these people, because we are not taught this. Like, we are not taught, if you make these decisions in this way, it's just, hey, you went to school, now you're out in the real world and you have to figure it out yourself. On top of everything you've got to do in your life on a daily basis, working out personal finance is not going to be very high on that list.
Yeah, and I think again, back to the point of this whole thing is, unless you're focusing on it, unless you're learning about it, unless you put the attention on this area, well, then you just go, the life goes on and nothing ever happens. And I think that's been the biggest thing for me. Like, I went, and I've done a lot of like reading on obviously this space before, but I think it was like my attention was more in the business and crypto, that like I just didn't have the time to even think or create those structures and processes. And now I've done that and it's automated. I'm like, great, this is fucking awesome. Like, I understand this.
How long did all those structures take you to actually make?
Mate, I just put it all into ChatGPT. Probably took me less than an hour.
There you go. Less than an hour. And that's going to compound over time. And if people want to see the effect of this, open up like a little Google sheet or Excel, literally type in the amount that you're going to save each week or month, and then compound it year on year and see what money you get in 10, 20, 30, 40 years if you do that. And it is astronomical.
And just on a micro level, this is exactly what I did, right? So I wrote down where I wanted to be in 5 years' time in terms of like my financial goals. I was looking at how much money I already had this, right? So this comes back to my crypto, but then there's also for me different avenues of wealth creation. There's crypto, there's the business, dividends for the business, business growth, property, and my income. So I was really looking at around, well, where do I want to get to asset wise with property, cash, crypto, looking at percentage returns each year compounded. And basically I'm just trying to get to a point at some point in the future, next, few years, where I can basically live and earn an income off those investments without ever having to work again. But I'll obviously continue working. This is just like, just a good model to have. So once I figured that out, punched all that in, I put all that into ChatGPT, also went through my bank statements, wrote out everything that I spend money on, the weekly amount, put all that into ChatGPT, and then it literally spat out an investment structure, personal structure for me to help me achieve that. I went in and then created all the automated transactions in the bank, and then it was done literally within an hour. I was like, well, that was easy.
Yeah. And if you do this as simple percentages, even one Ramit Sethi, I Will Teach You to Be Rich, his book is quite good. And he teaches you how to do this in a very kind of simple way. You don't have to go through and budget every little item and why have you spent $10 at Target and all this sort of nonsense. It's more just having percentages, like 10% I invest, 10% I save, 20 or, 60% goes on like fixed things like my mortgage and other things. And then the rest goes on discretionary spending.
Yeah.
Another good book is Paul Clitheroe, Making Money. Highly recommend this book. Get amongst it. That was probably the first book I read when I was 17 and set me up for life. And just looking at like the contents page, like it's no bullshit. It's not like all these stories and all this nonsense. It's like, this is how you do it. Get to work. Look at these 10 steps to financial security, your budget, saving faster, smart buying and credit, debt, investing, owning a home, getting the maximum tax, insurance, mortgages, investing in shares, property, retirement, estate planning. What if things go wrong? Incredible. Like, these are the things that you need to know. And this stuff is so simple. Like, just the changes you've made in 1 hour will set you up for life. And then you can accelerate from there. You can start utilizing credit. You can start utilizing debt. You can use debt to buy a house. You can then recycle that debt. There's all these fancy things that you can do and systems you can set up. And the majority of those take less than an hour to set up each. And you just need to do them once and you just leave them. It's not like going to the gym every single day and building. And Ben, how do you feel now that you've set up that automation and that money just goes out of your account to another account? How do you feel?
Oh, it just feels secure.
Do you feel like you're missing out or anything like that?
No, it just feels as though like it's so funny because everything you just mentioned, I'm like that. I know everything about that in the crypto world, and I always look at that in terms of crypto, but never really spend a lot of time again back in personal AUD fiat land because I fucking hate it. But then I'm like, wait a minute, now that earning decent money and the things are going, like I needed that strategy, and I just feel as though it's it's sorted now. Like the emergency fund, the investments, we've got like things happening. I'm like, again, running it like a business, I feel empowered to do it. And again, another book like yours, Richest Man in Babylon, great book. It's a story. It's a little less like logical and formal. It's a bit more like story based. And his whole thing is just putting 10% aside, no matter what, into not crazy investments, like i.e. not crypto, and just building that over time. And again, it's boring, and I hate boring. And I guess that's why I've never looked at it, because I'm just like, well, fuck that. Like I want to, want to go big or go home. But you've got to be boring here.
That's the mentality. Like, go big or go home. I have to make it this year or I'm going to die. It's like, no, you're not going to die. You're going to be fine. If you're an Australian, look at your superannuation. Look at the things they invest in. They invest in it because they're relatively secure. Out of every 10 years, you might have 2 down years, but you make money over time. And that is your retirement. So the government doesn't have to pay out pensions. You should do a similar thing for yourself. I was looking at the Vanguard website. Their marketing is brilliant. It's like this big thing, and it says, "Oh, so you don't like money?" Yeah. And it's like, "Whoa, geez, right in your face." It's the crypto equivalent of have fun staying poor.
Yeah.
And you literally do 5 clicks, and from your account, you send money over every week or month. It automatically happens, and it just grows. You wake up in a decade or 2, and you got shitloads of money in there.
It's so good, so good. And I think that reflection bit I really struggled on, and I'm trying to get up the notes that we had from our catch up the other day. But like the reflection bit on like looking at where you've come from and where you are now.
Oh, bro.
Yeah, I've got it here. It was ridiculous. It was like, I was essentially...
Hang on. Before you go into it, mate, let me set the scene. So we're at this beautiful place in Gracetown near Margaret River, down south. Amazing house, like 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom, 3 spas, 6 toilets, and like beautiful view of the ocean. And we wanted somewhere, nice for our exec retreat. Surprisingly affordable as well. So anyway, we're all sitting down like, Ben's just like, I've just got nothing out of this business. Like, I just keep going and going. I put all this money in, and like, I just haven't made it yet. I thought I'd make it by now. And I'm thinking, what the fuck? Like, and Trav's like looking at him as well. We're like, okay, no, this is understandable. You've done a lot in the business. A lot has happened. And Trav got you to do this exercise. Write down where you were 18 months ago, just 18 months ago, and where you are now. Do you want to read out some of those things?
Yeah, it was pretty wild. It's like even 18 months ago, like basically, I was traveling around.
You're homeless?
Homeless. Traveling around in a suitcase. Salary was absolutely fuck all because I was paying myself the least out of any of our employees in the company, just to try and get it through. Personally, all my cash was in crypto. Didn't have a car, sold everything. Business was losing money. Still had my tax debt that I hadn't paid off yet, and then was just constantly like trying, and like everything I had was in the business trying to grow that. Like that's where I still had my personal crypto, but I was like still trying to grow all of that.
You were flying around. You were trying to do a cap raise. There was so much going on, and then we got you to write down, okay, where you at today, and do you want to call out some of those things about how far you've made it just in 18 months?
Yeah, I mean. Salaries nearly like 3 or 4x. Crypto's gone up heaps. Got a car. Got my dream car. Got the Tesla. Like 7-figure turnaround, profit wise in the business, which is nuts. Got a girlfriend that was put in here. It's a personal. Paid off all the tax. Personal wealth has grown a lot. Business has grown a lot. Like, and that was only 18 months ago, which is insane.
You got somewhere to live now. You have a home.
I got a home. I got a bedroom.
Plus heaps of other stuff. And let's call out the big one where you felt like you haven't made it. Your net worth was negative multiple 6 figures, right? Right? Because you had like tax debt, all this kind of stuff. Obviously, you've got equity in the business.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to sell it, all those kind of things. You're just talking about personally. Yeah. And now you've gone the other way and you have a positive net worth. And the change has been dramatic from that negative to that positive just in those 18 months. Plus, that's not actually including the business. And the business is worth a lot more because of how hard you've worked in it. That is an insane turnaround in 18 months for someone your age, let alone someone that's 30, 40, 50. That's an insane turnaround, mate.
And I didn't really realize that, I hadn't really sat back and reflected on that. And I think that, again, coming back to like where your money is parked and like I think a lot of people right now, right, are thinking about, the market's down. Maybe they didn't take, enough off the table, or maybe they don't have enough outside of crypto, and it can be hard to sort of manage these drawdowns. I think that's one thing that's really helped, me and us is having we've got multiple different investments. We've got, cash, like a large cash balance. Like we're not running off fumes anymore. That's really important, because otherwise you end up so stressed because you're just monitoring the day to day. And that's where people make poor investment decisions, is because they need the money and they sell their crypto. Like that's not where you want to be.
Yeah. And you want these investments, they're just passive. You just throw it across, you go to sleep, it's long term, everything will be sorted out in time.
Yeah, I agree.
Mate.
So
I'm proud that you made these changes, mate. You're a lot happier, and you're into it now, mate.
Yeah, super into it. And I think just to summarize that for business owners that don't do this, because I know, and because I speak to a lot of them, because I'm mates with a lot of business owners, is we are so focused on the business. It's the only thing that matters. That's the go big or go home. And I'm still that, don't get me wrong. However, it's nice now to also know that to the side, we're building another route to wealth creation that isn't entirely based on the idea that your business succeeds, because most fail. And I'm not saying that our business will fail. I think our business is going absolutely amazing, but to focus on yourself a little bit has been a big game changer.
Yeah, because things can happen outside of your control, in your business. And you would have seen that through EO, and it's quite stressful if you're not in a position of FU. If you're personally in a position of FU, you're going to take a lot more risk. You're going to do a lot better in your business because it's not an all or nothing scenario. You're not tied to it. One more thing I want to bring up with the all or nothing is I talked to quite a few people, especially at Oz CryptoCon, about investing. And these are just peers, people that are in this space. And a lot of them say they have a number. And I'm like, well, okay, what is your number? Because, we talk about investing, talk about money. I said, 5 million. I'm like, well, why 5 million? Well, if I hit a $5 million target and I've got that in my bank, or I'm investing it, 4% rule says I'll get 200K per year, and I'll get to spend that, and I'm retired, which is a very all or nothing. First of all, you probably don't want to retire. You want to do something with your life. You're going to be very bored because none of your mates are retired. And also, they're not factoring in that $5 million, if you plan to live another 50 years, if you're like 30 and you'll live to 80, 40, you live to whatever, that's an extra 100K per year. You can burn down on that capital sum as well. Plus, you're going to earn a lot more than that. The 4% is after tax, but you're going to earn a lot more than that in markets over time. You don't need to get to that massive number and then retire. And if you look at people that have had massive exits, I know very, very few that are retired. And the ones that are in their late 50s and 60s, and they still do side projects, have wineries, have syndicates, invest in property actively. No one truly kind of retires.
Yeah.
And I just want to reiterate to people that it's not all or nothing. Just start growing it, and you'll just start to see how much easier your life becomes, how much stress has been removed. And also that compounding effect, it's just this huge exponential curve. The earlier you get into it, the better off you will be.
Yeah, totally agree. Okay.
Great.
Cracking episode.
Great, mate. And we'll continue to work on it, mate. We'll kick you up a few levels. You've done the basic stuff now, which I'm very proud that you've done. And let's get into structuring, and let's get into, with professionals, of course, and let's get your parents a house.
Let's do it. Thank you so much, folks. Hope you enjoyed the episode. If you have any friends or family that you want to share this around, it's how we grow the podcast each and every week, with no sponsors and no nonsense on these episodes. So we love just giving you the beans, and hopefully it's been helpful. So we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks so much, champions.